Hey guys, Jonathan with jwaltphotography.com, and today I'm going to be talking to you about one of the most important legs of the exposure triangle, aperture. So what is your aperture? Aperture actually refers to the opening in your camera lens. We refer to these in f-stops, and that's how we gauge it on your camera. So for instance, you might see f2.8 or f20, but not really know what it means. I'm going to break down what those numbers mean and give you a quick guide of when to use what. Now, this is meant to act as photography 101. There's a lot more to learn about this as far as how the surface area of the opening changes and lets in a certain amount of light, but that's not this video. This video is for beginners to understand what that hole does to their pictures. You have a couple different ways that you can set your aperture on your camera. You can set it really narrow or really wide. Now this part seems a little counterintuitive. The smaller the aperture, the bigger the f-stop. The bigger the aperture, the smaller the f-stop. Sounds a little bit weird, but I'll help you make sense of it. I want you to think as an f-stop as a pupil in your eye. Whenever you walk into a room that has no light in it, your pupil is going to get really big to let in as much light as possible. This would be compared to an f-stop such as like f2.8 or f1.4. There's going to be a very limited amount of things in focus, but you're going to be able to see. Now, on the contrary, you might walk outside on a really sunny day. That's when your pupil in your eye is going to get really tiny. For instance, if this was the aperture in your camera, it's going to get really small so it blocks out some of that light. So the smaller the aperture, the less light can come in. This is going to look like f16 or f20 or f22. So the best way to think of this is the bigger the aperture, the more light can come through. The smaller the aperture, the less light can come through. To get the most light possible, you want the smallest number possible. A lot of lenses go down to f3.5 if you buy them in a kit. A very popular lens that goes bigger than that and lets in more light is the 50mm 1.8. It's a really cheap lens that you can pick up in a link below. So overall, when do you use these numbers? Well, you got to think about what you want in focus in your shot. If you're shooting something like a landscape where you want everything in focus, you want to use a narrow aperture or an f-stop with a bigger number, such as f16 or f20. If you want just me in focus and the background out of focus, you want to use a very small f-stop or a very large aperture. For instance, right now we're shooting at f2.8. If I was to take a few steps back, I'm going to start falling out of focus. If this was at f22, I would stay sharp all the way back to the wall. Hopefully this video has helped you a little bit in understanding the f-stop in your camera, also known as your aperture, your opening in the camera lens. Thank you so much for watching. Be on the lookout for the second video, which we're going to break down shutter speed, and the third video where we're going to unlock the mysteries of ISO. Yes, it's a word, not an acronym. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one. The wider it is, the bigger it is. Duh. Jonathan with jwaltphotography.com, and